You're probably wondering why I'm wearing this hat. This hat comes from my grandfather and my mother's side. It comes from 1967. It's a Stetson.
Because I think it's the best thing of its kind that's come along. I hope you'll agree with me. It's honest, it's adult, it's realistic.
It's great. I like to wear it because, A, it keeps this bright Florida sun out of my eyes. Pretty stylish, goes good with a suit, you know. I'm not gonna wear it with a bathing suit or a wetsuit, but a business suit all day long. I had another cowboy hat and it was a Western Express, so it's not as nice as a Stetson. And my grandfather's like, well, I'm not gonna be using this anymore. So he gave it to me in the original box with the original plastic over it. So I started using that. It looks nicer, especially since I'm always wearing a suit for work. And I was like, well, shoot, why not? At least it keeps me from having to wear sunglasses if I'm talking to you, so you can actually tell that I'm making eye contact with you, paying attention to you, but I can actually see you too, because I get this nice little bit of shade right here, courtesy of the Stetson hat. No, he worked his tail off for years. He raised 4 kids. I mean, you know, he went from being in the military, being a police officer.
8 weeks of infantry basic training.
Working, you know, for multiple companies, such as Wonder Bread, you name it. But I mean, sometimes it's a miracle that he's still alive, though, with everything that he's had to go through. I mean, he had a rough life when he started things off. I mean, he grew up in a rough part of town. I mean, he had to get in a fight every day to go to school. I mean, it was so rough on him. He started smoking cigarettes when he was, you know, 9 years old, as an example. So just to try to kill the stress. I mean, he was in 8th grade. He stopped going to school just because he couldn't stand to be around his dad, who was a rough guy, but he was a World War II veteran who got it wounded very badly. So he was on a lot of morphine. He just wasn't himself there around the end of his days, unfortunately. And my grandfather went and joined the military, started off in the Navy, did a couple of years there, then finished off in the Army. And he loved Elvis Presley. I mean, he sounds like Elvis Presley when he sings. And his dream was always that he would meet Elvis when he was in the Army. And then when he was stationed in Texas, a week after he left, get a load of this, they stationed Elvis over there when Elvis did the whole, you know, being an Army thing. I think that was a whole CD about that, or an album, I should say, back in the 50s. And that's when my grandfather was in there. And they raised 4 kids. He's been through a lot, to say the least. I hope I could be half the man that he is. The guys from that generation were just something else. And, you know, he was a patriot, stylish guy, could sing well. You know, he could talk to anyone, be anybody's friend, didn't have a bad bone in his body. You know, could go work his tail off all day, wouldn't even curse. And funny too, I might add. I mean, if you wanted to crack some jokes with the guy, he was great. He was good at baseball. I mean, he got me playing baseball when I was younger. That was great. We were huge Braves fans, to say the least. I mean, we had the Richmond Braves as the AAA team. So if you weren't playing in Atlanta, you were there in Richmond. It was awesome seeing those guys come up, especially in the 90s when we had the World Series win with the Atlanta Braves, but I digress. But no, my grandfather, great guy. I don't even know if I could do him justice with what I just said, to say the least. So the hat, if you will, is kind of a keepsake or a memento of what he has done, and hopefully I can take things to the next level in my life in honor of what he's been able to do for this country, for me, and really just in general.